Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today I wanted to discuss the Echoes of the Atlas content reveal and the Ritual League content reveal that came out in today's video from GGG in a live stream that they ran. However, I wanted to go through some of the smaller bits of information that were easily missed in this reveal. And so firstly, I want to start with the Elementalist overhaul because this is one of the most exciting things that I think we've seen. I'll start with showing Chris's actual video on it and pause in a couple of spots where there's things I really want to talk about.
The Elementalist has always been the general fantasy class with many elemental builds, but lacked really in-depth spell options. Now you can pick which elemental elements to use for great.
So here you're seeing Divine Ire being used. So the key change that's happening here is that you will be able to choose which elemental elements you want to focus on. And I actually think that this has gone under the radar a lot. This is a really exciting change, and it's going to make the Elementalist very, very, very unique. You will be able to, for instance, use a build that deals chaos damage through hits, and then causes that chaos damage to ignite, shock, and chill. Something that previously has required the very rare amulet Zerfi's Heart. Additionally, you can use a build like, for instance, Penance Brand that deals physical damage, which is converted to elemental damage. And then you can convert away. So you can start out with the damage being, your damage being physical, convert it to lightning, then through the use of powerful unique items, potentially convert that to cold, through support gems even to fire. And then you can have all of this damage that you're dealing actually cause chills, shocks, and ignites, even though you're no longer dealing the damage of various of the types of elements that would do that naturally. So firstly, we have the Bastion of Elements node, which is a defensive node. The key thing here is that it's got cannot take a reflected elemental damage. Primal Aegis will provide you with a large ablative shield against elemental damage. I don't know the exact stats on how that's going to work, but 100 damage per allocated notable passive skill. Notables are not the ones that are on the actual tree, so on the Ascendancy tree. They're on the main passive tree, and they're the larger nodes. So you'd probably be able to get maybe 20 of them on an early endgame build, 24, 25 on a later endgame build. And that's assuming that you're only taking good ones, and so you're not making massive sacrifices for this. I don't know how often the ablative shield will replenish, so I'm going to reserve judgment on Bastion of Elements until we see that in practice.
Bastion of Elements provides significant defensive shield against
So,
elemental damage, which can be further improved by allocating more skills on your passive tree and Ascendancy tree.
Now these are the Golem nodes. These are getting slightly better. Golem builds were already really strong, but I think they're just generally looking really strong. Like the fact that you've got 25% increased effective buffs granted by your Golems per summon Golem that's something that already exists. I'm not sure of the numbers on it, but the key change is summon Golems are resummoned 4 seconds after dying. Allomancer is where you will pick up the elemental immunity on the Golems. Golems having elemental immunity is important because they're stupid. They get hit by big things. But these are the big changes coming now. And it will come up in just 1 second. Here we are. Shaper of Flames, Shaper of Winter, Shaper of Storms. These are phenomenal nodes. So your hits always ignite. All damage with hits can ignite. So not just fire, but cold damage can ignite. Lightning damage can ignite. No more needing to mess around with weird uniques like Stormfire or Zerfi's Heart in order to get this effect. And also, you can use it in conjunction with a lot of just cool things. So for instance, Shaper of Flames is looking really exciting in conjunction with the unique wand Obliteration, which causes enemies that you kill to explode, dealing damage equal to a quarter of their life as chaos damage. So there was actually someone that follows this channel put up a video that I linked to yesterday that showed the potential for doing that with Zerfi's Heart. You're no longer going to need Zerfi's Heart, you're just going to need to be an Elementalist. Likewise, as well as getting these Chaos Explosions to ignite, you will also be looking at getting significant chills from them and getting significant shocks from them as well. You'll notice that there is a bonus to if your damage is focused on a specific type of element. And that's fine. I think there's going to be an interesting setup here where you may want to try and use skills like Wave of Conviction that inherently converts some damage. So Wave of Conviction from memory converts 25% of the physical damage it deals to lightning and 25% to fire. You may want to try and keep these exactly balanced with a goal of having your hits sometimes mostly do, sometimes like basically get the best of both worlds here. So if your hits have the highest damage type be fire some of the time and sometimes it's lightning, you may be able to get the benefits of both Shaper of Flames and Shaper of Storms. Ultimately, I see the Elementalist as being a really interesting character, a really interesting ascendancy now. Very different to everything else, and probably now is actually the best choice to make use of the powerful Eternity Shroud unique that drops from the Uber Elder encounter. Whereas previously I think it was Trickster that was the best build for it. Now, Mastermind of Discord is looking really interesting. Exposure you inflict applies an additional negative 25% to the affected resistance. Now, from memory, there is a cluster jewel exclusive, very, very, very rare passive node that this will have tremendous synergy with. And that's the one that causes your fire hits to have a chance to inflict exposure to fire, your cold hits to have a exposure to inflict exposure to cold, and your lightning hits to inflict exposure to lightning. So you could potentially inflict all three types of exposure and then get double benefit from it. And then there's the really total overhaul of Heart of Destruction here. This is fantastic. So essentially, you get 60% increased area of effect until you encounter a unique enemy. Then when you hit that unique enemy, you will lose the benefit of the area of effect, and you'll gain 30% more elemental damage. The other thing that's really noticeable in the Elementalist tree is that it's losing its Herald mana reservation reduction. That wasn't mentioned in the video. Now, I think that the Elementalist is looking stronger than it used to be, but removing that is a sign that they may well be deciding to basically kill off the aura stacking builds, because they basically were builds that stacked reduced mana reservation. And so making it so that reduced mana reservation sources, even ones that weren't really abusable like the Elementalist ones, may be something that's being done there to sort of curtail it, and as Chris mentions in another point in this video, make it so that it's less clear what the best build is in the game. Anyway, that's the Elementalist. I highly recommend having a watch through the entire Echoes of the Atlas content reveal. In terms of the other changes that are being made to the game, there is the Ritual League, which is a chance to fight. Basically, you'll be fighting a pack of monsters 3 times. Each time you fight it, each time you do this fight, all of the first lot of monsters will be brought along, but they'll have new friends. Then you'll fight them a second time, and you'll have all the monsters from the first fight plus new ones. Then you'll fight them a third time, all the monsters from the second fight plus new ones. In high tier maps, you may encounter 4 rituals instead of 3. And this looks like it's quite interesting. There's a lot of sort of niche mechanics. Ultimately, I think it's a hybrid of Parandus and Talisman, but without the weaknesses of either league. That's my thoughts on it at the moment. We're going to have to see how it actually plays out in practice, but I'm pretty optimistic that it looks really good. The other thing that's great with the upcoming league, the Ritual League, and this is separate from the Echoes of the Atlas content, is that it looks fantastic in how it's constraining you into a limited area for fights. And this is something that Echoes of the Atlas does as well. You're going to need to be able to fight in constrained areas, which is going to, I think, ramp up the skill ceiling of fights a lot. No more are you going to be able to just basically double off-screen powerful packs of enemies. You're going to need to stand your ground somewhat. You're going to need to mechanically dodge skills rather than simply hide around a corner and avoid them that way. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the things from the Echoes of the Atlas content reveal that are not Echoes of the Atlas. I'll give my thoughts on Echoes of the Atlas shortly.